So I'm Mike Cooper. I'm the president of the Writers Guild. I'm going to kind of go through our website here and show you what's going on in the world. Do want to mention today is the 14th, is that right? Yeah. So we're taking submissions for the anthology. Instructions are on the website on this here page that says COWG member anthology. Just go on down and there's the information. We are taking cover artwork submissions through the 16th, which is 2 days from now, right? We have Thursday. So Thursday, May 16th. So we'll go to midnight on that one. So cover artwork, we're looking to kind of keep the look of the past 2 years. So we're looking at natural photography of Central Oregon. And we've got some good submissions so far. So if you've got something sitting around or you want to get out into the world and take a picture of a rock or some water or a tree, get out there and do it and get it to us by the 16th at midnight. I'll go back to our opening page here. So the opening page on the landing page on our website shows what's going on. So here are our events in May. And a really stalled. Minda's any minute now, right?
Yes, she is. She sent me.
Okay. That traffic in Bend, how about that traffic on? How about those roundabouts? I have some I teach a tech writing class. I'm really stalling now. I teach a tech writing class at OSU, and I have a group of students who's doing a paper on the roundabouts of Bend. I think they've decided there are enough already.
They are safer.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? It's safer. But what I discovered with roundabouts, particularly on Reed Market, is that traffic just keeps going through them, right? So if you have a street that's not a roundabout, after a roundabout, you can't take a left because cars just keep coming and coming. There's no like a light, there's no stop in the traffic, right? How about that? All right, I'm going to move into the jokes here pretty soon. All right, so on the opening page of the website, we have listed all the events that there's beautiful Shelby right there, who's going to talk to us tonight. On the left side of the landing page, we have our Central Oregon Writers Guild events. So we've got Shelby listed there. In June, we've got Julie Swearingen and Eric Frank are going to talk about building your author platform. They're going to focus kind of on TikTok, but I think they're going to. I did that. We weren't worried at all. No, you're great. You're great. So they're going to look at, so they did a cool thing, I think in February, where we talked about social media, Facebook, Twitter, or X, and Instagram, right? Yeah. And so we did some really cool stuff. So they're going to talk a little bit about TikTok, but I think they'll talk more about the social media thing. Shelby's going to talk to us a little bit about marketing, and then Julie knows how to build websites. So Julie's going to actually have a workshop where you will build a website. If you are looking to get an author website or think you might want an author website down the road, this is a great opportunity. Come on in. We'll spend a few hours on that Saturday, and you will have a website when you leave. Okay, so we'll make a website while you're here. You'll notice that the price on that is a little bit higher, but that's because we got to pay Julie for her time on that. In July, Michael Stephen Gregory is going to talk about writers' conferences. I talked to him the other day. As you all may or may not know, we're looking to get a writers' conference here in Central Oregon. He's trying to get something on a kind of a smaller scale together for this October. and is pretty sure that we'll have something in place of a real writing conference here for next summer, late summer, probably September of 2025. So we'll keep you posted on everything we know about that. Lauren Oberberger did a workshop for us a few years ago, and I took 10 pages of notes. Really, really good stuff. Just everything that came out of her mouth was gold. So she's definitely someone who want to be here. Speaking of gold, here's my beautiful wife, Irene. Planning on September for her, and what she's really good at. She's a great poet, and she's also a great writer of fiction and nonfiction. She has a real skill of transferring the craft of poetry into prose. So the cool things that we love about poetry, imagery, metaphor, words, other cool stuff that poetry does, lyricism, all those things, to be able to bring those into your prose. Really, really great stuff. And she'll do a workshop on that. Planning on that in September, though, and talking with the OSU MFA people, they've shifted their MFA residency to September, so we might move Irene to November and then do this, have the OSU MFA visiting author come talk to us in September, but I'll keep you posted on that too. Kristen Dorsey, formerly Vice President of Central Oregon Writers Guild, dear friend, wonderful person, fantastic teacher at COCC, always fun, brings some really good stuff. And then again, I said we may switch in November, and then in December we'll have our holiday pop-up. On the right side over here, these are all the events that we know of that are happening in Central Oregon. Library is hosting Robin Walt Kimmerer Thursday. Any tickets left? Yeah. Rope grading Sweetgrass. So she's talking at Bentai Thursday night. Also, third Thursday spoken word night here and in Redmond. We have authors at various bookstores. Lone Pine has a poetry night, open mic night. Roundabout's doing a local author event. We have a writing salon through Blank Pages, that's a Zoom event. More authors, and then we get into June with other cool stuff going on in there. So if you're looking to get into writing things, this is where we have it all listed. And if you know of anything, that's not on there, let me know and I'll put it on there. Okay. All right. Who has announcements of cool stuff that's happening?
I do.
Do you, Mary?
So I took the plunge and did some indie publishing, and I brought a few books today. This is a collection of stories that are all related to quilts, and I call it Fat Quarters, a patchwork of stories for quilters. So I brought 5 copies. If anybody wants one, I'm selling them for $8. If you buy them online from Amazon, they're $10.50. If you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you can read it for free. Kindle edition is $2.99. But anyway, so that's what I've been up to. And on Friday this week, the 17th, I'm going to have a party at Redmond Senior Center at 3 o'clock to launch my book. And so if anybody would like to come, I would love to have you there. Oh, I should be talking to the camera.
Yeah, start over again. Here. And then after this, so Mary is also, does anyone else have anything they want to share?
Let me grab my
Okay.
featured reader thing.
Yeah, bring your cash too. Mary is also our featured reader coordinator. And so when she's done telling you about this, Mary's going to introduce our featured reader. All right. Okay.
Okay, so I just told the whole room about this, but I'm telling the people at home, I'm going to have a book launch on Friday, May 17th at 3 o'clock at the Redmond Senior Center. And I would like people to show up and come. It's just no fun having a party with no guests. So that's my news. All right. you. So now on to our featured reader. Mindy DeBunch is an author of children's literature short stories. Her latest award-winning children's story appears in the 2023 Central Oregon Writers Guild Anthology. The first time she received a call notifying her of a win in a competition, she thought it must be a prank, and she almost hung up the phone. Luckily, the competition representative was able to convince her the award was legitimate. Please welcome Minda DeBunch.
So I'm nervous. I just want you to know. I was going to read Basement Boogies, which is in the anthology, but I actually have a companion piece to it. The children's story in the anthology is from a child's point of view, and this is kind of where it came from. My story that I wrote recently is kind of was the beginning of the thought for the story that's in the anthology. So this is Frankenfurnace and Other Basement Oddities. My great-grandmother's basement is by far the most mysterious room in our house. Standing on the landing at the top of the creaking stairway, my eyes adjust to the dim light and wander out over the jumbled layer of dust-covered menagerie. My bare arms tingle, the cold damp air raising goosebumps on my skin. The unusual combination of dust, starched linen, antique cloth, newspapers, vegetables, and leather assault my nose. If I open my mouth, I can almost taste damp earth and laundry soap. The thick, floating dust stings my eyes and makes my throat dry. Memories of my childhood fear of being accidentally locked in this space slip into my mind. I smile at my overactive imagination because that never happened, but I did have a mischievous cousin who might have tried it if he'd thought of it at the time. I can see the new washer and dryer against the pale stone wall. Next to the dryer is an old-fashioned washer. Its well-used wooden rollers still intact. I hope no one's fingers ever got caught in it. I shiver and I wonder why I would randomly think that. Next to the farthest wall in the back are boxes, crates, and steamer trunks lined up on every conceivable inch of the wall and floor space. Various sizes of thick cardboard boxes are stacked together in organized disarray. Some of the smaller boxes have been rifled through, the lid still ajar. I laugh as I imagine the borrower's family, Todd, Homily, and Ariadne, visiting Grandma's basement. Several pieces of furniture are draped in sheets that glow with an odd luminescent gray light. I can see the ghostly outline of a sofa and two tables. I wonder if Casper the Ghost's house might look like this. I gaze up at two small windows near the ceiling. They give me the impression of baleful, gleaming eyes peering through the darkness. The black relief of chair legs stick up in the air against the fading light. It reminds me of the picture of the windows on the house in the Amityville horror novel I read. I glance around the room. To the left is a dark green work table with a hammer, nails, and several screwdrivers strewn over it. A shovel, a rake, a medieval-looking edge trimmer, and a large axe are propped against the wall next to it. The Brothers Grimm version of Little Red Riding Hood flashes through my mind. The matching bench stands next to the furnace. Its surface is worn and scratched, revealing a layer of yellow paint underneath. Next, I focus on the old oil furnace. Its body is large and tall. It is still taller than I am as an adult, and as a child, it towered over me. I still feel the echo of the quiver I would get in my stomach whenever I had to face the furnace as a kid. My skin would get clammy, my breathing shallow. Whenever I went to the basement to help Grandma with the laundry, I would pretend that it wasn't there, that if I didn't look at it, it couldn't see me either. Frankenfurnace. This huge monster of a furnace, for some unknown reason, is painted the same electric green color as Frankenstein. It has two cold three-turn air vents in the same location as two black square eyes would be. A crooked piece of gray metal is riveted over the right eye vent, looking like stitches. Below the vents, in the middle of its green body, is an opening covered with a black residue-stained grate, mimicking a monstrous gaping mouth. Inside, the red glowing pilot light flickers a red tongue. Silver damper handles stick out both sides like neck bolts. Eerie groans, hissing, and popping sounds come from it continually, so I can empathize with my younger self when I feel my stomach drop and vibrations zing through my body as it bumps on and off as it goes through its heating cycle. Next to the furnace are two doors. The left door is closed. Behind it is the root cellar where Grandma keeps the vegetables from her garden. The other door is ajar. All I can see is the corner of a bed draped with a thin, lacy, crocheted, vibrant orange bedspread. It waves and flutters gently in the air, circulated by the furnace. I still harbor a small bit of dread when I think about my grandparents sleeping down here when out-of-town company would visit. I knew I'd never be able to sleep down here, even as an adult, especially not with Franken furnace. A large pipe runs up the wall and disappears through the ceiling. If I stand close, I can feel the heat radiating from it. The rafters in the ceiling are open, storing more fascinating things from my family's past. 2 horse saddles and some tack, a dozen pairs of skis in various lengths, 4 1930s tennis rackets, 2 antique Japanese parasols, and fishing nets with round glass floats still attached. Many more captivating things occupy this lofty perch. In the corner, cobwebs sway in the shifting air currents, and light bulbs hang from the ceiling, swinging hypnotically to and fro. From my bird's eye view, I gaze out over the basement's treasured oddities. My imagination runs wild with the many magical stories that can be told about the lives of the people who own these beautiful and compelling objects. I wonder what else lay hidden and preserved in the veils of dust-colored covered sheets and sturdy cardboard boxes. Maybe it's my imagination. Maybe I found my imagination here too.
Thanks. Yeah, I love that. Does anyone have a scary basement or? We grew up in the Midwest where everyone had a basement except us. Yeah, so we get in the bathroom during tornadoes, but we had a furnace room that had all that scary stuff. All right, on to our presenter this evening. Shelby Little is going to talk to us tonight about how to shout about your work without losing your voice. Let's explore how you can get the word out about your writing while staying true to yourself, your voice, and your audience. We'll survey the online presence of established authors who are using modern media to enhance their material. Plus, Shelby will provide a big picture perspective on planning your market approach so you don't lose sight of your goals or lose your voice amongst all the noise out there. Shelby Little is a Boise writer who works as a marketer here at Bend. With more than 15 years experience in marketing and communications, she founded Yarrow Creative Agency in 2019. Shelby recently completed the Forge Writing Program, blogs at theshelbylittle.com, and is a nominee for the Pushcart Prize, Best of Small Presses. Yeah. Let's welcome Shelby.
I'm walking the microphone. All right. I have 2 gizmos here I'm not used to holding. So I'm gonna get over that real quick and just do a little introduction. As Mike said, I'm Shelby Little, and I was told not to talk about myself too much. But I'm gonna do a little bit of that.
Who told you that?
I mean, just, some people have gone to these before. And so I am gonna do a little bit of that because I want to show you some examples on my blog, what I've done and how that's led to some opportunities. But just to get to know you all a little bit, I know there's some writers in the crowd, but I'm curious who else is here and why maybe I'm talking about branding essentially and an author brand, but why that may interest you. What do you, anybody want to raise a hand and tell me what interests you about creating an author brand or what you may be doing today already? And if you're not an author or an artist, businesses too. I see a lot of differences in the audience. Yes.
I'm Claire and I am a children's author.
Nice.
I haven't been published yet, but I have like a fully completed middle grade novel. I just finished the first draft of a young adult novel and I have like 6 picture books and a short. I have piles of finished writing.
Awesome.
And I just am having a huge block with getting out in the world.
Okay, awesome. Are you doing anything, other than trying to get them published? Are you doing anything to market them yourself?
No.
Okay, I like that. Fresh start, okay. Anybody else have a project they're trying to get out the door? I heard some Amazon self-publishing. Are you doing anything to promote it other than word of mouth, these types of things? Your party? That's great.
Word of mouth,
Okay,
Facebook.
cool. Great. Anybody else want to give us some examples of what you might be doing? Yeah.
I probably will send a book to the printer tomorrow.
Great,
Okay.
great.
I am, working on a website.
Okay, working on a website.
I just, signed myself a second email.
Okay, you have an email for the business, okay.
Iran is wide open.
Wide open.
Look for-
Y'all are great. This is gonna be good. Okay, all right, cool. Well, I will, so this is gonna focus on, strategic marketing. So I'm not gonna tell you, go home and write 5 Instagram posts at the end of this. So that's a fear of yours, may it be alleviated. But what I do want this to be is a little bit of a workshop after I get through the intro stuff, where you'll walk away with a strategy and you'll just want, the idea behind brand marketing is that you define who you are and you stay consistently who you are. Otherwise it weirds people out. I'm like, I don't understand this product or this person or this thing. So that's where we're going, big picture. And we're going to get into the examples that Mike mentioned. We're going to look at some current authors and what they're doing to market their stuff. And I love music. I'm a musician, so there's some music elements woven in here. And yeah, I'll just get going. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Just 1 moment of indulgence. If you just stick with me. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is me. I write and I run Yarrow Creative Agency in town. I formed it now 5 years ago or so, and we're doing great. Oh, I'm also a mom. That's my daughter, Josie. So at Yarrow Creative, we're basically a full service marketing agency. I have wonderful teammates. I basically form project teams with the best marketers I've ever worked with. So it's pretty awesome. It's like working with, you know, your best coworkers ever. And they all have certain specialties that I bring them on for. But at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to do. We create lovable brand stories. So the dissemination of the brand stories, how we get it out, is a whole craft into itself. But if you don't have this part that we're going to work on together tonight, you don't have that foundation, you might as well not do the dissemination, the Instagram, the Facebook, the other things. All right, so we need to get real secure in our foundational brand work to make, really make an impact and achieve whatever you want to achieve. So here's some people I work with, some brands you may recognize. I'm not going to read them out to you, but these are some current brands we work with. All right, so on the writing front, because I am a writer as well, I write fiction, nonfiction, and songs. And my target audience here, I'm going to talk a lot about audience. I write for makers, mothers, and nature lovers. Yeah, somehow I got nominated for a pushcart prize. I'm currently a travel editor for Origin magazine, and sometimes I lead creative writing workshops. I'm currently writing a collection of essays about motherhood. There's an adventure novel based in Florida and artsy travel stories about Florida. And I know there probably aren't any Florida writing tips or Florida tips in this room, but if there are, please see me later. I could use those. Also, I attended the Forge, as Mike mentioned. So just a little bit about my blog, and I was excited to hear you're starting a website, because that's basically what I've been doing to sort of host, and this is what you would do with any business as well. You want your website, your .com, to be your home base. Everything you do on social media, anywhere else in marketing, should point people back to this one site. And don't write bshelbylittle.com/ Irene Cooper, the most decorated writer I know. That long URL, nobody's gonna remember that. And I see people doing that still sometimes. So just stick with your main brand name. And so I'm just gonna show you a few things that I write on here, the type of articles I write. So I definitely wrote about Irene last summer. And then there's some thematic things going on here. So 3 days in the Everglades, more travel stuff, Joshua Tree, Southwest Florida, tornadoes, glamping in the Everglades, flamingo. So I put some of the tactics that I was doing on these last pages. So I'm doing SEO, search engine optimization, which basically means, back to my earlier point, your website is your #1 tool for being found on the internet. And so, and just in general in this, digital world. So I'm basically optimizing every article I write to be found by people looking for that content. And then the usual suspects, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Notice I'm not doing TikTok, but I might after this presentation and the research I did for it. But I do a little bit of email. I'm kind of a lazy emailer, and I tell people that I do this. Okay. So my blog is about 1.5 years old. Where do you guys think most of my traffic at this point comes from? Any guesses? One of those tactics I said earlier. Word of mouth. Oh, it could be actually. No, it's not, but it could, but that's a big contributing factor. And the way you can tell is there's different, well, whatever. Yes, that's a big factor. Yes. What else? There's one that I can't track. That's hard to track. That's like in a branding category, but there's somebody that's Instagram's good, but it's not that good. It's yes, my SEO man, Sam. Sam is an SEO professional in town as well. And SEO is bringing in, I don't know, 400 visitors per month to my website right now. So not too shabby for a 1.5 years old blog that I do on the side. So that's just to say, good things come from SEO, but to the Instagram people, here's a fun thing that recently came from Instagram and Facebook. This is gonna be distracting, I'm sorry, but here we go, okay. So this, this happened. Okay, so I was recently published in Origin magazine, this whole write-up on top places to visit in Florida. Also, this is an alligator in my hometown area. That was massive in crossing this little lagoon near me, and I was on an elevated trail. Anyway, I wish you could hear the sound. But what I'm getting to, and it's gonna be really, let's just watch. Should we just watch for a second? Let's just watch the gator cross the road. This is how the write-up turned out that I did for Origin magazine. And this is how I was promoting it afterwards on Instagram, also put it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I put it on YouTube Shorts today, just with the purpose of embedding it in this slide deck. The reason I put this in here for you all is just to sort of make a connection in all of our brains that the work you're doing to market your writing can actually go places and lead to connections. So I was doing consistent messaging that basically subliminally said, I'm a travel writer to people. Shelby is a travel writer. Shelby really writes a lot about Florida, if you noticed that theme earlier, which has a stickiness factor because not many people are posting like bull gators crossing the trail in front of you, right? So then what happened is one of my connections on Instagram was also writing for Origin magazine. And her editor was like, I really need an article about Florida. Amanda, do you know anybody that knows about Florida? She's like, oh, yeah, I do. So anyway, they connected us, and that's how the Origin opportunity came up. So that's just, I wanted to give you guys like a real world example of like people helping people across these platforms. And now I'm really gonna stop talking about me. Okay, so we're gonna do a workshop now. All right, so does everybody have pen and paper? And we're gonna set any like perfectionist tendencies aside. So this isn't really about wordsmithing. This is about just getting like real clear on your brand and who you want to be. And you can wordsmith it later. Go ahead and plan on cleaning it up. I'm also going to do, there's going to be some writing prompts. So I'm going to get my timer a little bit more prepared over here. Good timer. There it is. All right, so David Ogilvy, anybody heard of him? He's one of the admin, the original admin of wherever, I can't think of it right now, New York. But he basically said to value clarity over cleverness in your ad copy. And I think that's true of good writing in general. Don't be too cutesy with it. And that's going to go for this creative brief. We're not going for like lyricism here. We're going for just being clear about what you want Also, David Ogilvy said, you cannot bore people into buying your products. So you want your brand to be different and distinguished from others, and we're not looking to be just like everybody else. Your brand isn't at the end of the day. All right, so here's some more inspiration from Seth Godin. Be genuine, be remarkable, be worth connecting with. A lot of the social media platforms today, I think all of them are basically based on or geared for engagement. So if people aren't commenting on your post, you might as well not do them because they don't go very far unless you're putting ad dollars behind them. Everybody's like, well, how do I get people to comment? Well, you gotta be remarkable. And also Facebook and Instagram probably still won't send it very far, so good luck. Okay, get off my soapbox about that. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. I love this quote because I haven't found another one that really, I think, epitomizes what brand is. It's Jeff Bezos. Okay, so here's our first workshop-y activity. All right, you're gonna grab a buddy or two. So whoever is in your row, you're gonna partner up. You're just gonna share what you write afterwards. So basically, this first part, we're doing a creative brief essentially. So the first part is the big picture brand overview. And these are some prompts to get you going. This is what's usually included in a brand overview. So, so here's some prompts. What genres do you write? What issues or themes do you consistently cover? What are your completed, in the works, or aspirational projects? If you've got an itch to do a children's book down the road, but you're a novelist now, write as if you've already written that thing. So you want this to encompass like the future profile of your brand. You want it to be big enough to fit all of you in it. So what distinguishes you in your work, be pretty accurate about that, I'd say. The more honest you are with yourself, the better this turns out. So if you're like, I'm funny, and you're not funny, then don't write that you're funny, but maybe there's something else you do really well. You just need to do one thing really well and distinguish yourself. I don't go much in this whole thing into the competitive landscape, and I probably argue there, other people might have other opinions, but I probably argue there isn't a competitive landscape in art. I'd probably say scarcity complex does not exist in art, and there's bountiful resources and people interested in good art. But in a typical brand creative brief, we would look at like, what's the competition? What could distinguish you from that? In the writing world, I've seen it more as like, what do they call these things where it's a competitor statement or something? There's something where you'll say, it's like the yearling, but it's this. Comps, yeah. So we do that real light touch in the author world, but yeah, not me. In the other world, we go hard. Anyway, make this aspirational. So what you want your brand to be. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. Yeah. 5 minutes to just answer those questions or write what you think your big picture is if those aren't speaking to you. And then you'll share with your buddy. Okay? Good. got about a minute left. Okay, and whoever is your buddy or your couplet, it's the same thing, isn't it? Your triplet? Why don't you go ahead and share for a few minutes and I'll bring us back together. So whatever you came up with.
Yeah. Sleep and breathe and young adults. Like, so I have some kids that are like, oh, no. Yeah. No, I think that's always been my problem is that it's just like, I'm not like, I write like YA fantasy, I think of a story and I'm like, the best way to tell this story would be this form. And so for me, it's usually the idea that I grab that for me, and then it's just like, tell it. But I think that's why I like this gives me anxiety. But I'm just kind of like, I don't want to force myself to be a, you know, a YA contemporary author. Because I also want to write about like this world where like this circus life. You know, right? Like it's not just I also want to, yeah. Yeah. I think I like sibling stories. I like the big deals, like basically like I relate to that sort of like age of turmoil. You're like starting to become independent, but you're not yet, and you're like struggling with all these things. And a lot of these experiences for like the first time, like you're
All right, how's everybody doing? Do you need more time? A little more time, let's do a couple minutes more, okay. All right, about one more minute. All right, wrap up wherever you are. How was that? It seems like there's some excitement in the room. Does anybody want to share real quick before we move on to target audience? Anybody want to share something interesting about what they're doing or their brand overview before we hop in? Let's go to target audience, because this is really the crux of the matter right here. Nope, I'm not going backwards, we are going forwards. Okay, here we go. So as an artist, your audience can change the course of your career. They can propel you to viral sensationalism. They can isolate you from criticism. And here's a real current example. I don't know if this is a room full of Swifties, so this may fall flat if it's not, but for the sake of what an audience can do, Taylor Swift, who's a very accomplished musician, got a bunch of crap reviews about her latest album, right? But she's got all these groupies or Swifties that support her art. So can you imagine the New York Times writing this about you? On the Tortured Poets department, Taylor Swift could use an editor. Ouch. The themes and familiar sonic backdrops generate diminishing returns. So imagine putting a book out in the New York Times, writing something like that about your precious baby. Oh my God. So the good thing about having an audience that loves you, which we would call having strong brand affinity in my line of work, although I'm not going to do that to you. Anyway, this is what happens when you have strong brand affinity. It insulates you from that kind of, bad review scenario. So Forbes here is saying there's been 2 million album units sold in less than 1 month. This is a once in a decade kind of success story. And Taylor Swift, the Tortured Poets department, is responsible for 8% of all album sales in the US this year. So that's the power of audience, right? At a very grand scale. But I just wanted to give you something that's like to the nth degree, so you can see like how this can work. Here's a quote from John Steinbeck, thinking about target audience. Your audience is one single reader. I have found that sometimes it helps to pick out one person a real person you know, or an imagined person, and write to that one. Does anybody do this today? When you're writing, do you imagine somebody? Yeah. Okay. So this next exercise, although it's about this author brand that you're creating and overall all of your projects, who your audience is, who's going to consume your work. I hate putting it in consumerism language, but that's basically what you're asking the world to do, is to, you know, take hold of your work and read it. So we're going to do this in a quick succession. Nothing else is going to be quite as long as that first exercise, but you can literally sketch with words or stick figures, or if you're a talented artist, do that. But we're going to sketch out either one person, like John Steinbeck was saying, that you think would read your stuff, that you want to read your stuff, that you would like implore and be like, this is going to save your life. This is some good advice from me, or whatever you're working on. So again, this is your prompt here, and I'll set a timer. We'll do like, I think we could do it in 3 minutes. Yes.
Do you want us to pick an audience for one particular work that we're working on, or our body of work?
Good question, Mary. Okay, so this is, yeah, I'll repeat it for the people on Zoom. So the question is, are we creating a persona, 1 to 3 people that represent readers of our work for one particular thing we're working on, or for everything, all of our body of work? And this, because it's your brand is the biggest thing, all encompassing, omnipotent. So it's, if you have, like, say you have 3 books that are totally different, then you have 3 different personas. If you have a book about bike riding and one about snake charming, those are 2 different people that are going to consume that, I imagine. I mean, probably. So, okay, we'll do 3 minutes, and don't overthink it. Just like sketch out qualities of these people as if they were characters, real characters in your novel. And you can give them props, you know, like, are they carrying a purse, a backpack, are they wearing hiking boots? Do they need a cane? Do they smell like their grandmother's house? Like, who are these people? Little less than a minute left, so just make sure you've got the bigger categories of people. All right, that's our timer. So now you're just gonna share that information, and I'm sure your buddy would like to see your drawing if you're willing to, share if you did draw, but just share with your buddy whatever you came up with, who you think would be consuming your work. Who are your personas?
Yeah. So, it's good to
Yeah, I mean, I talked about my how to catch a bear. So in general, nature animal living kids. Love to be outside, care about the environment.
Okay, how are you gonna, need more time or you good?
I write stories about animals, she looked out.
I think a lot of people are ready to.
Yeah, she loves to make things out of sticks, make mud pies.
Anybody want to share one of their personas? Who's gonna read your work? Anybody have an interesting character that's gonna read your work that you wanna share? Anybody willing to share?
Yes. If I don't know if I can make that.
All right, cool. Okay, so I don't know if I can claim how interesting this one was, but my younger self, the young girl that needed heroes to aspire to when the world felt big, intimidating, and overwhelming.
Guys, that's good. Anybody else like heart soar a little bit? No. That's a good feeling to have when you describe these personas, because if you have an emotional response to them, you want to write to these people with empathy. You want to be able to empathize with them, and you also want to respect them, because that's going to come across in all of your content as well as your work. Anybody else want to share? Yeah, Corinne.
Yeah, I wrote that, my peeps like being provoked and surprised, they're tricksters and fools and high priestesses. They're hags and magicians. They're ravens and coyotes, otters, magpies, and lizards.
I love that. I love that.
So you want to publish in the zoo?
Well, no zoos.
That's awesome. So Karina, I might take that, and I love that description. Might see if you can take that to the, what's the uniting characteristics of that group?
They're all archetypes.
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess you could say, to make your job easier, I guess, as a marketer, which you all are gonna basically be when you leave this room. I'm using this as an example. Thank you for talking, Karina. But you could, if you narrow it to like, just the magpie, you know, she likes flying or whatever it is, you'll get you get a different result, because you'll just like narrow down, you know? But you may not want to do that because your stuff may appeal to everybody, but anyway. Anybody else willing to be brave? Yeah, okay. Oh, right here.
I got really specific.
Okay.
Her name's Emerson. She's 9 years old. She loves to write stories about animals. She has a dog, 2 cats, and 2 bunnies. Her family loves all the outdoor gun things. She loves to build forts with sticks and make mud pies and play in the water.
Okay, great. So that's a character we can see there's a lot of visuals going on there and that you could write to. And also these people should inspire you, be able to fuel you. And if you're not really inspired by the people on your page, try again. You know, you want to be able to write kind of endlessly to these people. Okay, so here's one that often gets forgotten in the shuffle of trying to do things and to hustle with your writing and marketing in general. Is this question here: why are you doing this? Why are you trying to market your work? Marketing is its own job, it's its own activity, and it takes a lot of time. It's hard to do well. Instead of doing that, you could just be writing. You could just be doing the actual writing and editing. So really get behind why. And I think when I was thinking about this, I think it'd be best to say, set a noble goal and then set your objectives. And really, in my mind, I wouldn't bother marketing at all if you're not going to do those things. So make sure you know where you're going. Why are you doing this? And what do you want the outcome to be? And just stay on that path. So here's my Tom Petty moment, but love this song. And the extraction here, what I'm trying to get to with putting this quote up here is: the noble why is really the heart of the thing. It's the heart of your brand. So it's also like Mike and Irene and Ellen and the Forge talk about with characters. So they talk about there's a big desire and then there's a little desire when you're writing a story. This is the big desire of your brand story, essentially. So your goal is going to be something aspirational. So you might be writing, I don't know, a fictional novel based in Florida. It's also an adventure story. And the goal could be to help humankind overcome feelings of isolation and realize our interconnectedness, right? That's a pretty lofty, ambitious goal that's going to be hard. It's not tangible, right? But these are the kind of things that motivate and drive people. So yours may be totally different, but there's some reason, there's some part of what you're doing. Let me see if I was going to have you guys do a little writing prompt on this, or yeah, let's do a little, we'll call this a sprint. So this is just you taking 2 minutes and write about, now this is for your brand, again, not just for one particular project, but for your brand, what are you trying to do? So let's just do 2 minutes, so quick sprint, okay? And then there's another one right after this. Got a few more minutes on this one. Okay. So you can, of course, you can come back to this creative brief and these exercises later. We're just gonna keep trucking now, so we cover it all. But after you've established your brand's why, and it's really important to distinguish the why from the what. Spice Girls reference for you, but what do you why are you marketing and what do you want to come of it? And get really clear on that, on those objectives. So the strategic what, maybe like these are examples that I just put up here for you, but to grow my following so I can sell X number of books in month 1 of my launch, right? We hear the publishing industry talking about that important first month or so time period. To have a readership following that will support and buy anything I create, kind of like that Taylor Swift example, different art, but same idea. Or to be invited to teach at Kauai Writing Conference. Maybe you want to get a paid trip to Hawaii or something, right? So these are examples of objectives. They're much more in this world. I can check these goals off, right? So let's do another sprint, just 2 minutes. What are you trying to do with your marketing and your brand? All right, start wrapping that one up. Okay, let's do a little check-in with your buddy. See how let's see what their why is and what the what's are of their brand.
We want to. Yes.
We also there. me, I wrote, I want to encourage kids to be creative, and find their passions in life, and when you have voice, so what about the ways to connect with one another in the community? Be and we're inspired. I want you to feel the process these feelings, so figure out who they are. The branding one, a lot harder for me actually. I mean, I guess I have things I was like, love to be invited to do workshops with kids at school, and like teach it, like kids like writing on this. I mean, I love to sell lots of books. That's like definitely a love. I love kids to be like, see my name in a book and like have to buy it. Yeah.
We've got one more minute here.
I'd much rather teach workshops than speaking classes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or just,
I agree.
yeah, if there's a combination. I wouldn't say no to be, speaker of this.
All right, let's come back together.
Yeah.
We've got a few more things.
Yeah. Are we till 7? Okay.
All right, so we're gonna hit a few more categories here before we look at what some authors are doing. So I'm gonna lead us through those fairly quickly, but all the things I said about not being a perfectionist don't apply to number 4. So number 4 is a really important one, and I often see people stray a bit on this one. And it's hard to do this well and stay consistent, but that's really what it takes to build trust. Consistency builds trust in your brand, and it builds brand affinity, and it helps people feel like, oh, I understand this brand or this product or this person. So brand tone is basically, you're gonna pick 5 words, here's some examples, that you feel like represent your whole oeuvre, your whole writing world, your author voice, essentially. So that can be a challenge because we can go into different characters' voices. But if you're going to be doing speaker events or putting stuff on Instagram or on your website, how are people really going to feel like they've entered your space? How are they going to recognize you? So just write down 5 words. For now, they can just be words you think are pretty getting close to what you are, if you're not certain of them or what your voice sounds like. But eventually you will want to circle back to this and really get very persnickety about which words define your brand tone. And if it helps, we're going to merge the next one together. You're going to write 5 words that are the antithesis of your brand tone. So if you know what you don't want to be, write that down, and then you can figure out what you want your brand tone to be. let's wrap that up and you can come back to it on your own. But this is a thing that, I mean, I do branding exercises for people that this can go on a long time. And you can get whole groups together to discuss, you know, if it's a company, you get a lot of people involved. And honestly, like the workshopping and getting other people's input is actually really helpful. Especially like this is something you could take if you're in a writing group now, you could take to your writing group and say, you guys feel like these really define my tone, the tone of all of my work. And you'd probably be surprised at some of the feedback that comes in. It'll probably be pretty helpful. Yeah, anybody want to share? We want to keep trucking. Let's keep trucking. So I know we're a bunch of writers in this room, and we're not going to workshop our visual identity, but because I'm a creative director, I think this is important. And so I'm just going to pause our actual workshop for a second just to put a plug for your visual identity matters. So what that could entail, so if you were to go to my website, bshelbylittle.com, you'll notice there's a color scheme that's consistent and it's bold and it gives you a particular festive kind of reaction, some of the brand tone things I was going for. So it's all of my colors, because I wanted consistency, because I work on brands, are based on this photo right here. So all I did, you guys can do this too, is find a photo. I think interior designers do this too, although I cannot decorate a house very well, but I think this is a trick interior designers do. You get a piece of fabric or a painting you like, and you make your whole world look like that, right? You take those colors out and you extract them. So basically I was pulling like the Spoonbill's reddish eye color for my main color. There's some oranges in here. Anyway, this is a trick you can do if you just want a fast way to define a brand and you really are passionate about one piece of art or, yeah, one piece of art, textile otherwise, and then you can load it into Canva. And long story short, in there you can see the color codes of each of the colors in here, and you can put them on just like a white piece of paper by themselves. And I'm starting to feel like I'm speaking Greek to you guys, but basically you'll have consistent colors. So every time you post, people will get like, oh, I'm familiar with this person. There's a lot more to it, but that's a good starting point, is just picking out the colors you like. Usually there's one primary color and you can have accent colors, but be careful with accent colors. I like a lot of colors, so it's hard for me to just pick one, but I try. Okay, so also know your aesthetic. Also see people kind of, there's some wrinkles or some curveballs when they will do things for a while that look like a modern font or a modern aesthetic, and then the next week they're using like vintage fonts. It's inconsistent, and inconsistency makes people not trust you, and you want to build trust. So watch out for general aesthetic, design aesthetic changing. Pick one and stay there. Fonts matter. That's just an indefensive fonts statement, but basically, yes, pick a font and stay with it. Make it representative of your brand, all the things we talked about, where you want to go, who your target audience is. There are wonderful books on the history of fonts if you don't know anything about them, like wonderful books. Anyway, you can find me later or get my email address and I'll send you a few that I love. So I really think I made like a really just me sketching things in Canva logo for my website because it asked for a logo and I'm a branding person. So I was like, well, I gotta have a logo. But I feel like they're really optional in this space and really in a writing space. I feel like we get more into product logos, product identity in the writing world, because like if you put out a book, that's your product. Your logo or your mark is basically the book cover in my head. So I think they're optional, but this is to say there's some things you can do on your own to define your visual identity, and it is important and it will help with all the tactics we're going to talk about. We'll sample later. Okay. I'm not going to go into this for the sake of time, but this is where you would go with, okay, I know a little bit more about who I am. It's like corralling information and organizing it right, so you're not just all over the place. Now we talk about content which is basically in marketing, you know, it's your copy, it's your art that goes with it. And I like to put those in buckets, and the buckets basically keep you coming up with fresh content and being able to schedule that if you're doing social media, at least in your head, or to organize yourself. So like, for example, I write travel writing, I write motherhood nonfiction, I write about Florida specifically. So I have these categories already in my head, already naturally in what I'm writing. So you basically want to think about what your content buckets would be. And even within, say you're very focused already, like I am a children's book author. Maybe there's different age groups you write for, but there's some sort of way you can break that out further so that your content, you don't get too heavy in one area and people think that you're only one thing, right? So you guys could do this. Yeah, let's do this later at home, but that's basically the start of a content marketing plan. Think about your buckets, and then you just go to work disseminating the information on whatever platforms you want to be on. So, all right, putting up my motherhood post. It's going to go out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn today. Also put a blog up. Great. Tomorrow, I'm going to do my Florida post. It's going to go to all the same places, and it's going to be, you know, from me again. So what I wanted to get to, it's not this, but this is a great Adele song. If anybody's heard her last album, it was fantastic. But this is just to reinforce that even Adele loves consistency. And yes, she was talking about probably her ex-husband. But the point is, everybody loves some predictability, especially with brands and people they don't know. It just makes people feel like they know you and builds brand affinity. So all the things that we've gone through tonight, your strategic plan, I would just get really clear on it. You know, if you want to do the same prompts later, but getting clear on it and feeling like, yeah, I can do this consistently because I love what I'm defining here. All right, so the last step, once you're clear on that stuff, is figuring out your marketing channels and your budgets. Does anyone want to talk about, I think we went into this at the beginning, but any marketing avenues that you plan to use to build your awareness of your author brand? Is anybody big in TikTok? You are. Tell us about it. Are you doing anything on TikTok right now as a writer?
Yeah, I have about like 3,000 followers. Yeah, I worked in public relations for about 3 years, and then I decided to get my master's in creative writing and shift from PR to writing. So I grew my Instagram. I created a different Instagram than my personal one, and then I created a TikTok, which they call it book talk. So I became a book talker, which was just like a fancy way of getting on a TikTok and sharing about my writing process, who I am, and everything like that. But once I grew my TikTok, then I created a Substack, which has also helped with the awareness of my brand and getting a newsletter out there. So I personally love TikTok. It's just been really helpful. And it's been a learning curve to use it too, but yeah.
What's an example of what you're doing on TikTok? Do you have like book dance videos?
No, when I started out, I was posting 4 times a day. And yeah, so I kind of got burnt out. Now I'm, doing 2 to 3 a day. But it's, I used to do this for clients. So it's really interesting to do it for myself and to figure out what I am as a brand versus my client was. But I will do anything from like, I'm getting ready to write. I'm making a cup of tea, and this is my area where I write, and people love to see what you're doing. Or I will post something like, oh, I'm really struggling with revisions today, but here are like my 3 tips that has really helped me out. What are your 3 tips? And asking questions too, because then you'll get engagement that way. So yeah. Amelia. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't TikTok yet, but we're going to talk about it in a minute. And I think I've convinced myself, and Amelia has convinced me to get involved. Okay, so now we're finally going to get to the part that I really wanted to show you. So let's see how some modern authors or artists are finding success through their brand marketing. Anybody read Colleen Hoover or heard about her story? Yeah, Amy with their Earth Department. Okay, so let's talk about TikTok success here. So she basically well, I say it, she's basically making millions of dollars of romance novels, right? And she did a lot of it, sounds like through TikTok. I actually haven't read her stuff, but just in researching for this presentation, remembered that I had read this article. So she has had this wild success, but she did it without a publisher, an agent, a six-figure marketing campaign, talk show or podcast tours, speaking gigs, or literary awards, or glowing reviews from mainstream book critics. So how did she do it? Her success was largely on her own terms, led by readers who act as her evangelist, again, audience, right? That's brand affinity at work, driving sales through ecstatic online reviews and viral reaction videos. Amelia, are you seeing this on TikTok? People have reactions to books. I gotta see this. See, this makes me want to go in there and check it out. Okay. So yeah, basically she has a deft use of social media, 3.9 followers. She has this hashtag that's got 2.4 billion views. This is a lot. So more just TikTok stuff. There's Book Talk that Amelia had mentioned. It's a powerful force in publishing. More than 100 authors of the large Book Talk followings drove 760 million in sales in 2002. So it's interesting where we are in my understanding of the publishing world and publishing industry, because you've got the independent publishers now coming up and influencing the traditional publishers, because look at this. So Simon and Schuster, it required recently, is my understanding. And then they formed a board, and their board, look at who's on their C-suite. They've got a TikTok executive, I think he was the COO, Disney, and then two people from Penguin Random House. They put somebody top of TikTok at the top of their company. Like, this is mainstream is now merging with the indie, and they're trying to figure it out, right? So does anybody read Sally Rooney books? Yeah, okay. Back at the back, awesome. So this was a cool, I have not read her work, but also from a marketing standpoint, what I've read about how she marketed her book was pretty masterful, and it's also straight out of an influencer campaign playbook. So what she did is she sent around these like packages that are just like merchandise and swag about a book. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But hadn't really been done to this extent. And I'm pretty sure she sold these things later, but the cool thing was like the hat was like a limited edition. Only some of the influencers or people on her list got one. And so once they got them, they were posting about it. So yeah, here we go. So here's some of the influencers that posted about it, like Lena Dunham, Lucy Dacus, Maggie Rogers, who are all musicians, or these two are Sarah Jessica Parker. An interesting thing was, another snubbed like major publishers, is that not all the important or the known critics got them. So they were kind of like snubbed in favor of like an actress or Lucy Dacus, like an indie musician. So that was pretty cool. She also had this this truck wrapped, and they sent it to some indie bookstores. You do this in like big towns like San Francisco or New York, somewhere you're getting a lot of publicity. So it was wrapped with a book cover, and they were serving coffee out of it, probably for free, at indie bookstores in those bigger towns, just to get a buzz, to get people walking around with their Instagram and to get on the news or something. But that's pretty much straight out of a marketing playbook. It just hadn't been applied to this medium that I know of. Oh, and they also did something they usually don't do, is all the galley groups were being sent out. So that's before the book is, my understanding is before the book is launched, they have these books that are not supposed to be for resale going out to all these influencers. And then of course one gets on eBay and it's selling for like $200 or something, but that was unusual as well. Emily Temple, the managing editor of Literary Hub, described the ongoing Rooney mania as nearly unprecedented for a literary fiction release. Okay, here's one of my favorite writers. This is actually a screenshot of her website, Amy Nezuka Matato. I would call her, as far as a marketing person goes, she's like a modern traditionalist. She's a little bit of both. She's got a lot of credentials. She's an excellent writer, excellent, well-rounded poet, nonfiction writer. She's a professor at the University of Mississippi MFA program. She has, if you're not following her on Instagram, she's fantastic. Excellent authorial voice. She has consistent brand tone, even on Instagram. But then she does all the regular stuff. She's won a lot of awards for her writing, like traditional awards and reviews. She had a lot of followers on X. So Twitter had been kind of the king of the kingdom, I would say, for writing for many years, but now with it in sort of disarray, like she's just got 19 followers that probably aren't active on Twitter anymore. Oh, her website, domain authority is a big thing on websites. Sam, thanks for sticking with us. SEO Sam. Basically that means that she's doing really well. Her website is getting a lot of credible traffic. She has people backlinking that are like the New York Times, the Washington Post, like these big major publications that basically mean if anybody searches AIMEE and starts writing in, the website's gonna go, do you mean Amy Nezuka Matato? Yes, yes, we do. All right, so I'm gonna throw you a little bit of a curveball because I'm from Florida. But Jimmy Buffett isn't necessarily known to be a writer first and foremost, but actually, and I pulled this from the Key West Literary Seminar website, Buffett was a literary powerhouse as well, one of only 6 writers, including Ernest Hemingway and John Steinbeck, to reach #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for both fiction and nonfiction. So he's kind of doing like the Taylor Swift might be using his marketing plan, actually, even though they're totally different artists, if she writes a book. But his brand did is he was basically doing world building. He was a place-based writer based in Key West. So his brand was basically breezy beach life. And that brand is in everything that he made, the songs, the books, the tours, and let's see, anything else? Oh, and then he went and he, probably made his millions when he did restaurants and resorts as well, and merchandise. So he basically did it all, got supremely wealthy, like Taylor Swift. Yeah.
This one, he won his case against and was able to trademark or margarita.
Oh, did that turn him?
And then he went against other people who were using it, trying to jump off his, but he got solely his own.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones had to change.
Well, that makes sense.
Shot
Yeah.
to that next level.
So-
marketing.
So that's a good point. Get a good intellectual property lawyer. Once you start, you're on your way to being as successful as these people.
He's got to read the famous terms like, cheeseburger in paradise
Yeah.
is another one that only belongs to him.
Yeah.
And then there's another one for one of the songs that
Awesome. I mean, I'm kind of in his camp. I mean, if I wrote a song called Cheeseburger in Paradise and it was wildly popular, it would be weird if the burger store down the street
yeah. Oh, and
was
there's
making money off
also,
that.
he's got a podcast too.
Oh,
That's
really?
the name of the song. So
Oh.
he took the names of all those and now, and then his family now runs his food empire. his
Wow.
Restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
As well as all the other stuff.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
So the last example I was going to show you is Lauren Groff, fantastic writer. I just put her up here as an example of earned media. So she's a Florida-based writer. There is a book ban going on in Florida. She has started a bookstore, an indie bookstore in Gainesville, sort of as a protest, but also to give people access to the books that are being banned. So also, it's getting social commentary from big people. Taylor Swift and Florence and the Machine are like sending around copies of her book and putting it on Instagram. But she's an example of earned media, which means you're doing something so remarkable that like the newspapers are writing about you or the TV, that kind of thing. PR people will know this is the cream of the crop if you can get good earned media. Okay, very end. A Seth Godin quote, at the heart of the question, will it work? Will all this work that I'm doing to market my stuff work? The heart of the question is, I'm afraid. What matters is, are you brave enough to try? So I would argue that if you do these things and your work is good and you work at all these things over time, good things will happen. Hey, thanks for doing all this with me. Third point, where? This one?
Well, you told one. Like 6 was marketing, what was
Why?
Oh.
Why, I think.
Yeah, the 6 one.
Why market?
These slides are on the website.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So at the beginning of the presentation, for the search engine optimization was the number one. Important thing about marketing, and yet, what would you say about it?
Well, we got a little taste of it with Amy, Amy Nezuko Mitato, like that brand authority means she's getting links, which are part of an SEO strategy. It's happening probably naturally for her because she's doing remarkable writing. Yeah, what would I say about it? I would say for people that are trying to build a brand, if you go do a reading somewhere and someone can remember your first name and part of your last name, and then they type that in and then they write writer after it, you want Google to say, you mean this person. And Google's only going to do that if you've been putting enough content up to get traffic that it says, you must mean this person because she's great and she's in your area. So it's basically feeding the search engines so they can find you. Sam, do you have a better way of describing this? How would you describe this?
I think it's good to try to figure out what your audience is searching for. I think it's good to try to figure out what your audience is searching for and try to speak about that. That's one way. That's probably how Shelby's showing up for so many Florida searches with her blog posts and getting 400 monthly visitors. But even doing simple things like, say you do the Squarespace workshop that's coming up, like just making sure you put in the SEO title, your name, author, or your name, writer. Like that's such a simple step and so many people miss it. And so when you do the workshop, ask that gal, how do I do this for the SEO title? Hopefully you'll get your $50 worth right there.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Sam. Okay, I don't want to keep you guys past dinner time or anything, but thanks so much for coming. I hope this was helpful, and feel free to find me on the way out if you have any burning questions or anything I didn't touch on. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Shelby. Thank you all of the everyone who joined us from home. Andrew, Arlene, Barbara, Carol, Jennifer, Judy, Kathy, Christine, Marissa, Nadra, Patty, Ted, and Tanya. Thanks for zooming in. Shelby's slides are on the website. There's a link on where her name is. So if you want to click on that, you'll get these slides that we just looked at here. I'll keep them on there when we transition the website. And those of us who are here are going to stay and eat snacks and talk and have a wonderful time and ask Shelby more questions. And those of you who are at home, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next month. Thanks.